Greetings, Internet, and welcome to Turn 8 First Look Sword Coast Legends. I'm your host, Rich, and with me I have Opie, right on the other side of Skype there.
Yo.
And we're going to talk to you about this game that just came out now as our first impressions. We got into the game and started playing it during Head Start 5.
Yes.
And just some initial thoughts on it. So the game is developed by Digital Extremes and Nspace working together to make it. It's a Unity game engine thing, and it felt like a Kickstarter to me. I don't know if it was. I don't think it
was, but it definitely has that kind of feel.
It really does feel like that. I mean, the game full version of it now, it's only $40, so that's pretty cool. It was a discount. There was like Head Starts. You could play early, so it really had the like vibe of a Kickstarter game without actually being a Kickstarter game.
Yeah, especially after like Divinity and Pillars. I mean,
Pillars of Eternity,
semi-similar. So
especially Pillars of Eternity really has that. Well, I guess they are all. So what they all are is isometric view game.
Yeah.
For those not familiar with the term, that's your like three-quarter look kind of thing. One thing that I noticed when I was playing this, though, is that unlike a lot of those isometric ones that you have like kind of a fixed position where it looks down, this actually moves.
So you can zoom in and out. You can kind of rotate.
You can zoom in and out. You can rotate, but on top of that, if you're like backed up against a like wall, the camera automatically will tilt down farther.
Yeah.
So normal, like if you're used to Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, old school ones like that, which is kind of what this is reminiscing, they won't do that. It'll just make the wall kind of disappear, so this zooms in. So, and the other thing that is similar to those sort of games is that it's a real-time game, but it's pause and play strategy. So
right, kind of like Pillars. I mean, that's also real-time. So.
Yeah, even Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah,
had that kind of, you start out and then you can set it so that when you get into combat it'll pause. It is a Dungeons and Dragons game, so it is based on 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, very heavily
based on that. So and not even based, it is that it's
for the most part. There's some minor differences.
So let's get into actual thing on it. Like I said, Wobie and I played Head Start. We played the story mode in it. I made a ranger. He made a cleric, as he is wont to do.
Always a cleric.
Thankfully. And have a healer, man. And so right off the bat, there's a couple of things with it. The character creator is actually fairly robust for a game like this.
Yeah, I was very impressed with that, how you can actually like customize your armor and even weapon choices and such. Kind of like playing D&D, I guess. So.
Exactly. Which is really nice to have that kind of capability, even though, remember, this is an isometric view game, so you're looking at it in this like angle down from the top like that, so you really can't see anything on your character once you do it, but you can adjust, cheek height with that kind of thing, what you'd expect in kind of an MMO, only it's not quite graphically that good.
No.
Still kind of nice. I mean, the central aspect of D&D is your character, so I think that's why they went with that aspect of it. One of the things that was odd right in there, it's D&D based, but it's a video game, so like any D&D thing that gets converted into a video game, there's going to be some compromises. D&D, if anybody knows how to play, you don't get things every time you level. In Dungeons and Dragons, you don't always get new abilities, you don't always get new stats, but if you play a video game and you don't get something, it's kind of boring when you level up. So like any D&D game before it, you're going to get some stuff every time you level up. There's some stats here and there that you get to play with and add on, and they kind of condensed it all into, I don't know, like abilities.
Yeah, an ability tree, essentially. Multiple trees where you can pick kind of certain abilities and they kind of path on each other, kind of like you'd find in like Warcraft or Diablo or that kind of stuff.
Right. This is still 5th edition, though, even though it has that kind of Diablo, Warcrafty kind of thing. It's not what they did with 4th edition D&D, so if you are despising 4th edition...
many people were.
It is still 5th edition, but again, it's a video game, so it has to compromise in some kind of thing. One of the things that I found my first look for this was the difficulty trying to figure out how to dual wield. I made a ranger. I can dual wield as a ranger, and it gives you the option, but then there's like whirlwind attack is one of the options that I had, and it says prerequisite dual wield, and it's in red. And I'm like, well, do I have it? Can I pick it? Well, it just let me pick it, but it didn't quite explain to me whether I had it or didn't have it, which was kind of weird. And then it took us like a good 5 minutes to try and figure out how to actually get a weapon in my other hand.
Yeah, you had to really like click on the specific like image of the weapon to drag it over, whereas your main hand is just like double click it and it's in there. So
that's one of the little unusual things about it. But for the most part, Character Creator was pretty cool. The only other thing Character Creator wise I would say they could use some help is the first page, the first screen or tab, whatever you want to call it when you're in the game. It's giving you your race, your class, your
background,
subclass if you or sub race if you have a sub race on, that kind of thing. But it doesn't when you mount. There's tooltips for everything when you mouse over it, so you get used to that kind of deal. When you mouse over your class, it tells you some basic stats about that class, but it doesn't tell you what your primary attributes are for the class. So, for example, for a ranger, your primary 2 attributes you're going to have are dexterity and wisdom. And it will tell you that when you get to the 4th page, I think it was, which was like your whole background, or it gives you like your character abilities.
Yeah, actually, I think it was the stats. The stats page.
Yeah, the stats.
You got
page.
the stats page,
Right.
Exactly. And like that, that was confusing because like the human, if you pick like say like you picked like an elf or something,
right?
It would say you get plus dexterity and plus to this, but at this point you're like, well, which ones do I actually need? I mean, we know because we played this in D&D, but if you haven't played it, then you don't know.
Yeah. So if I'm picking an elf, I'm thinking, all right, well they've got dexterity, and that probably goes with a ranger, but they want wisdom. Well, your normal elves don't, and your moon elves don't, but your wood elves do. So your wood elves have that. So that could be front and center, just to make it a little easier. Is it a big deal? No. Just something I kind of found out. Anything else on the Character Creator? That kind of covers it for me. I thought it was pretty good. I actually was impressed with it.
Yeah, and I really like I said before, the ability tree, how, like, I was playing a cleric, and I had all these different paths. Like, there was a path for, like, champion. It was righteous something, where I could pick, like, a more melee build and had a lot of melee abilities. I can go over here and pick, like, the light path that had all the healing abilities, and it just made everything very easy to understand and, gave you a path on what to take. So, I liked it. That was very well adapted for computer games.
Yeah, it's fast, but not completely dumbed down.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You don't have to sit there spending hours trying to figure out what you want to pick, but it's not exactly like you would be on pen and paper.
Yeah.
Joining a game was a bit of a struggle.
Big tip right now. There's an option to disable tutorial for new characters. Do that, because if you try to create a game and have someone else join you, they can't do that unless you get past the tutorial or you disable that ability.
Yeah.
You disable it, then you're fine. You can start a party and you're good. But we didn't know that at first, so it was tough to figure it out.
Again, it would be something that'd be nice if it was just kind of right in your face when you were doing it, kind of told you how to do it. But Opie created the game, and I was like, well, I don't see you. And he's like, I can't make it anything but solo. And we couldn't figure it out for a while, so we let him play it for a bit, and then suddenly it was available. So the tutorial... If you know absolutely nothing about these types of games, sure, give it a try once, just do it. But really, it doesn't.
Yeah, if you play any isometric game at all, you don't need to do it. I mean, it's part of the story, kind of, but it wasn't really that.
You're not missing out on a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Gameplay-wise, isometric view, you get your normal thing. You're going to expect you clicking around a lot to move. Personally, I would have liked it if I could have maybe used the arrow keys to move, or at least click and hold, and not have to constantly click. That I feel like it's going to get tedious.
I don't know. I guess if you're used to Diablo and such, then it's kind of...
And I am, but I've also gotten used to games where I don't have to do that anymore. So it's like, I know it's a throwback, but sometimes there's a reason we move on from things. So I love the isometric view. I liked all that stuff in there, but maybe just that part, click and hold, and I can move. Something that could be in there. Trade.
Yeah, we have. If anyone knows how to trade, please tell us because we can't figure it out. Besides just dropping it on the floor,
Yeah.
and then we pick it up. So
especially if you're going to have 4 people in your party, so it does multiplayer. You have 4 people in your party, and you can have them all be online and sign in and do this. If you're playing solo, or there's just 1 or 2 other people, whoever's hosting the game is going to control your NPCs that you do it. So he can or she can manage those characters, no problem. But as far as me giving an item to Obi, couldn't figure out how to do it. Just had to drop it on the ground.
Drop.
Yeah, or I left it in the chest. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I kind of feel like, if you're in a group with a bunch of friends, it's just probably not going to be the case. But if you're in a campaign and somebody else has joined your campaign, any really good items, there's no loot rolling system, which again, I suppose would feel a little bit too MMO-like for a game like this. So I would get them not putting it in there, but if somebody's being a jerk and they just kind of joined your campaign, they could just steal all the loot.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And you'd never get it.
Though I do like that you can't loot things during combat. So you can't have someone just kind of going around looting everything while you're fighting off all the bad guys. So
yeah, that is a good
nice feature. So
yeah. Story-wise, we haven't gotten too far into it, but all of the main quest is voice acted.
Yes,
which
is great. Yeah,
I like that. Has subtitles for everything else, but so far it seemed pretty good. I will say, for me, the game is the gameplay is a little slow, and not to say that it's slow bad. It's just on the slower side, and it's not because of the pause, because we actually didn't even do that to the point where we wiped once because of that. But there is, because of the clicking around and the moving and you want to search through things, it's not a fast action game. So, I mean, none of these games usually are. So if you're familiar with any of that kind of games, that shouldn't be a surprise to you.
Yeah, I kind of had the impression that it was actually kind of fast in the sense that, when you're actually fighting, combat doesn't actually last that long. You start fighting, and most of the guys are dead in the first few 10, 15 seconds, unless you are getting, beat up. But I really,
combat
honestly,
is fast, yes.
Yes.
Game is slow, for me. In between combat, that seemed to be a decent amount of time. But it's a story game, and there's going to be story in it. Cool things about it, you got DM mode. We haven't really touched on too much on that, but this is an early look, so maybe when we get a longer preview, we can tell you more about the DM mode. That's kind of all my thoughts. I really was enjoying the game. I'm excited to play it some more. I think it looks very good. I like the character creator. I think the layout is cool. The terrain looks good. A few minor things here and there about trading and connecting, but otherwise, I think it's a great game. First thoughts, Opie?
Yeah, I think it has a lot of potential, especially for the part, how you can actually start random dungeons with people and that aren't even part of the story. And the fact that there's all these modules, people have created all these things over Head Start, and there's already hundreds of them anyone can grab and use anytime they want, which is fantastic. Even I messed around with DM mode a little bit, creating something. It's very easy to use. There are some features I wish that were in there, but it's great. I'm actually looking forward to being a DM more than I am a player. So
yeah, which is something that most people don't say. So overall, it looks very promising. So if you're interested in it, go check it out. Now you can get it on Steam. I think you can get it in retail stores if you want to. I think the full price now is $39.99 US, and then there's a collector's edition, which actually comes out to basically $60, which is really the price of a full game now. So not a bad deal. Go check it out. This is Turn 8 with First Impression, Sword Coast Legends.
Bye.